Good late morning, Monday morning, 22nd of March. You're watching World Without Rule of Law. Welcome to the Southern Virginia homestead. Today, I'm continuing with my garden prep. So here I have two compost bins and trying to mix them a little bit. So there's some green growth that I'm trying to turn in. You can see some of it there. This pile is a year older than this pile. And you can kind of see, I think, I'm going to attempt to get you a little closer. There's still a few broken down wood chips. Of course, there's tons of grasses and stuff in here too because it sat all last year. So I'm trying to turn that in now to get rid of that. And this one over here obviously has more unbroken down chips and stuff on it, sticks and whatnot. So again, I think this one is at least a year newer. And I kind of changed the way I was managing it in the beginning. I had both of them going at the same time, which was kind of a mistake, but trying to separate them out. So I think somewhere under there is some more finished stuff. Well, I've been mixing it in too. So now with the beds I'm making in the lower garden area, which I showed the other day, and in the food forest, I'm going to make some bigger beds. And also, they all have to be topped off with compost. These buckets here, these pails, are for my peppers. I want to try to ramp up pepper production as I want to continue to make hot sauces and relish, pepper relish, stuff like that. Pickled peppers for sandwiches. I had pretty good luck, pretty good success. I won't even say luck because it took a lot of research and a lot of work. But what I was able to produce so far was really good. And so now that I kind of got certain recipes down, although I am going to do salsa this year, which I never did, and a few other different like exotic peppers. I just ordered some seeds from Baker Creek, some heirloom pepper seeds, and some different peppers that I'd never seen before, heard of before. And when they come in and I start those inside, I'll go over all that with you. But anyway, I'm ramping up pepper production. I'm thinking the smaller varieties, like the cayenne and a couple of those newer ones that I'm getting, they're fairly small. I can get 2 of them per 10-gallon pots. Those are 10-gallon pots. There's one bigger one. Kind of see it sticking above right there. I think that might be a 13 or a 15. But the rest are roughly 10. There are a few of them, a couple of them are a little bigger, actually, but get back on track anyway. So what I'm doing is because this pile is nowhere near going to be enough what I need to do all my beds and everything. And actually, the 2 of them together is going to be cutting it close. I'm taking the unfinished stuff or the year newer stuff in that pile, and I'm filling like the bottoms of the barrel. Like, okay, those 5 are filled. These 3 here are half filled. So they're with the less finished stuff. I'm going to go ahead and half fill all these with that. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish it. Top them off with the finished stuff in an effort to try to conserve the more finished stuff. Because I think that as the peppers grow and that will continue to break down, it's almost like a hugel culture, right? We talked about that yesterday in the beds with the wood. It's kind of almost the same thing in my mind. If there's more woody material in the unfinished stuff, put that underneath. Let it hold moisture. Let it break down and feed the soil. That may not happen in one season. But again, it's driven by the need to conserve. Because while that pile there is more than enough to fill these pots completely, entirely, when I look at the, well, good night, already almost a couple hundred square feet of beds I got to top off, plus a couple hundred more square feet I want to build up in the food forest, 4 to 6 to 8 inches deep. No, I don't even think both these piles are going to be enough for that. So that's what I'm doing. Most of this compost was made, it was all made here. And it was made mostly from chopped up leaves, which I collect in my leaf vac in the fall, and all my grass clippings. The leaves are the carbon, the grass clippings are the nitrogen. And it just sits, mixes together. And to jumpstart this one, when I came back last week, 2 weeks ago now, I did take a bucket or two, I think one big bucket, big loader bucket of wood chips. And again, I showed it to you yesterday when I filled up the bed down there. Let's try to show you over beyond the shed that pile of wood chips. Well, all the way to the right, you can see the piles are all the same height when they drop them off. So the one all the way over to the right, try to hold this steady, sorry about that, has cooked down. And it's at least half compost. Maybe not quite halfway composted. And as you go out to the left, you get the newer drops. So I took the older stuff, which again is half composted already, and I threw it in that left-hand bin. And as I mix the grass clippings in with that, it'll continue to speed up that composting process. My goal was to leave it untouched. And then almost immediately after I put it in there and mixed it, I realized I didn't have enough compost here. So I'm using it for the bottoms again. I know I'm going around in a circle, but I hope that explains my compost management plan, such as it is. It's changing daily. But I'm just a knucklehead who's winging things here. I don't have any expertise in any of this stuff. But the nice thing about this is, if this fails, and let's say as I contemplate this stuff, here's my jeopardy, possible jeopardy. By mixing the unfinished stuff that still has some chips in it, could it rob the nitrogen out of the soil? Well, if I mix it, absolutely. But I'm not mixing it. I'm putting the bottom layer on the bottom and the more finished stuff on top. So I don't think it will. The same way a hugelkultur bed doesn't rob nitrogen. Now, again, I'm not an expert, and that's my logic putting into practice a theory, and we'll see. It's either going to succeed or it's going to fail. And the good thing is, although this is rapidly changing as well, we're still living in a somewhat functional society. And it's getting a little harder to wrap my mind around that every week, every day. With the ebb and flow of the political tide. But that's a video for another time. And I want to try to stay positive. And when I look at the political structure and situation in this country, all the positivity drains away very quickly. But for now, this summer, if this fails and my pepper crop is stunted or completely fails, I don't think it'll completely fail. I think, now again, this is just speculation theory because I haven't practiced it yet. I think if putting those wood chipped, less finished compost on the bottom does any detriment, it may rob a little nitrogen. I don't think it's going to. But if it does, I don't think it's going to ruin the pepper crop. I think it might stunt it, but it might ruin it. But if that happens, worst case scenario, the peppers are a flop, and I don't get any peppers. Summer of 2021, fall of 2021. My belief is, and I know it's kind of a risky gamble, is that I'm still going to be able to go to the grocery store and buy peppers and other produce, because I'm employing this same technique with other veggies as well. So if it fails, I can still get veggies at the grocery store or at the farmer's market, because there's a lot of farms around here that go to the market. And so I don't think a complete failure on this front will cause me to starve to death this summer. The lesson and the value in knowing if this is going to work or not going forward outweighs that risk. Because fast forward 1, 2, 3 summers, as the political tide ebbs and flows and the country continues to spiral into despair, we're giving away money like it's bubbling up out of the ground like water. And again, I don't want to get negative and I don't want to go down the political road. But in the future, that sense of food security that I have today with the grocery stores and farmers markets may not be there. So the lessons that I learn on the homestead garden this summer, this growing season, will pay their dividends in the future. Because the question of will this work or not, the answer is either yes or no or somewhere in between. I need to know that while I can still have a somewhat normal society to back up my food supply, i.e. grocery store, farmer's market. Hope that makes sense. It all makes sense in my head. The question is, do I have the ability to articulate it to you all? And I hope that it's coming across. So, that's what I'm doing. Experimental? Yeah, somewhat. Had a lot of success with peppers. Peppers are pretty easy to grow here. Gets extremely hot in the summers. One thing I'm convinced of that I learned in my prior growing seasons, is that these black pots are the way to go when growing peppers. The drawback is they need more water, as any raised bed would, or any container would. The ground holds water, so if you grow them in the ground, you're always going to use less water. Well, unless you're growing in the desert. I think even then you would use less water. But the benefits are mainly peppers love the heat. And these black pots bake in the sun, and they heat the soil up. And as long as you give them the necessary water, that leads to awesome pepper growth. Now that I'm convinced of. That I know. I still wouldn't call myself an expert, but this is my 4th year growing peppers here. Wait, 2, 3. Yeah, 4th year. Well, 3rd really, because I wasn't here last year. But I did this in Connecticut as well for 1 or 2 years. Now, a little different climate because we didn't get the heat up there. And they seem to do better here. But they did well in Connecticut too. So if you want to grow peppers, one thing I can say with relative surety, grow them in black pots. You won't be sorry. But you have to be prepared to spend some water because they're going to get thirsty. And that heat is going to dry it out. And they're going to drain well. And so I water them every single day in the summer. Every day. I go out either early in the morning or later in the evening. Usually in the evening. I'm not much of a morning person. When the sun sets over the Blue Ridge Mountains and it cools down to the 80s, I'll come out and I will spend some serious amounts of water on these things. And they will thrive. So, nitrogen going forward, how they're going to work with the unfinished compost on the bottom. Stay tuned to find out the answer as we grow together.